You got no one. Fine. Fine.
Well, guys, welcome back for another night of teaching during Sukkot. We're going to let John get right into it, not steal any of his time. Ladies and gentlemen, John Kostick.
Don't have your mic on, John.
Okay, can you hear me? Oh, you know what I forgot is my clicker to advance. I'm not ready. Okay, let's see if this works. Oh, this has to turn on. You know what? I left it on all night. Do you think the battery died?
Very possible.
Because this was the battery from that candle. This doesn't seem to be doing anything. You have another one of these little advancers? I know. That's why you gave this one to me.
Yes, actually.
We may have to. Anybody have a AAA battery on them? Anyone have change for a Series Z savings bond? Oh, it's working.
Miracle.
Okay, everybody ready?
Everybody's ready.
Okay, tonight we're going to talk about chiastic structures in the Bible, which few people know even what they are. I didn't either. So we're going to start with here at the beginning. Here's what is a chiasmus. Okay, it's a rhetorical or literary device in which words, grammatical constructions, or concepts are repeated in reverse order in the same or modified form. Does that help? Not at all. I don't know what that even says. But that's the dictionary definition, okay? I'll give you an example. This saying here, never let a fool kiss you, and never let a kiss fool you. Okay? This is a chiasm. And what happens is you have this X pattern showing up. Okay? What's said at the beginning is then said at the end. And this letter X in the Greek alphabet is the letter chi. And that's why it's called a chiasm, because of it's modeled after that Greek letter X, or chi. Okay? In the Bible, it is packed with chiasms, which you don't always see. Some are pretty blatant, like this one. So the last shall be first, and the first shall be last. That's an easy one, right? And you can see the X pattern here. And oftentimes it's written like this, where you have your A and then A1, or maybe sometimes it'll be lowercase a. And then you have B and lowercase b, because it matches up, okay? And there's lots of things where the first will be last and the last will be first. Jesus was born on Sukkot. His beginning was on the last Moed, right? And his death was on Passover, the first. Okay, so you can see the crossing happening here. I'm going to show you not just a little saying. Let's go into a deeper, big story. How about the Noah flood story? If we go to Genesis chapter 6, starting in verse 10, it says, Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Then it says, God said to Noah, the end of all flesh has come before me, for the earth is filled with violence through them. And behold, I will destroy them with the earth. So he talks about the 3 sons, end of all flesh, and he's going to destroy the earth, or curse the earth. Next, in part D, he says, go make an ark of gopher wood. This is how you will make it. He gives all the instructions and the sizes, okay, that he wants. So that's part D. Then we have E. Behold, he says, I am bringing floodwaters on the earth to destroy from under heaven all flesh in which is the breath of life. Everything that is on earth shall die. So he's bringing floodwaters. Flood is announced. Under F, I will establish my covenant with you, and you shall go into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, your sons' wives with you. And every living thing of all flesh you shall bring 2 into the ark, keep them alive with you. Then they shall be male and female. Of the birds after their kind, animals after their kind, creeping things after their kind. So in other words, every living thing of flesh you will bring 2 of. Okay, so all living creatures. Under G, and you shall take for yourself food that is eaten, and you shall gather it for yourself, and it shall be food for you and for the animals. Okay, so now we're food in 621. There's a point to all this, so stay with me. H, you are to take 7 pairs of every clean animal, male and its mate. 7 pairs, so what do we have here? Take 7 pairs of clean animals. So he's talking about animals here. I, on that day, Noah entered the ark with his sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and their wives, and the 3 wives of his sons, his wife, okay. Male and female, okay. So on that day, Noah entered the ark. So we have entering the ark, I. For 40 days, the flood kept coming on the earth. The waters rose and covered mountains to a depth of 15 cubits. That's J. So we have waters increase. And then it goes to chapter 8, verse 1, and God remembered Noah. And all the animals and livestock were with him in the ark. And God sent a wind over the earth, and the waters begin to subside. So we're going to put here X, because we're talking about chiasma. This is where everything's going to switch. Everything that you have seen so far, A through J, is going to repeat backwards. Watch. God remembered Noah. In 8:14, by the 27th day, the earth was fully dry. So now we have the waters decreasing. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife, along with your sons and their wives. So I, sub 1, is coming out of the ark. The fear and dread of you will fall on every living creature. So here is talking about animals, which lines up. Everything that lives and moves will be food for you. So we have food repeating. I will establish my covenant with you and your descendants and with every living creature. So that's F, all living creatures. I will establish never again will all life be cut off by waters. So in E, he announced the flood. In E sub 1, he promised no more floods. And here he talks about the animals coming out of the ark. So he's talking about ark. Then in 9:12, he goes through, and this is a sign of the covenant. I have set my rainbow in the cloud. He's going to remember my covenant between me and you. So here he's giving a blessing to the earth, that I've put a rainbow and I promise never to destroy the earth again, versus C, which was a curse on the earth, announcing a flood. And he makes this blessing, this covenant with all life on earth. And then the story ends. Are you ready for the big ending? The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. It's Noah and his sons, A sub 1. How often have we read the Noah story and we never realize, oh, whatever happened this way is going to happen backwards this way? And I'm telling you, it's hard to find a story that this doesn't happen. I mean, there is, and not only it happens in sentences, it happens in verses, it happens in whole chapters, it happens in whole stories, and I contend the entire Bible is a giant chiasmus that all, remember, it all hinges on the X, and the X is really the cross. And if you start studying all the activities, we're going to see that in a minute, everything repeats down to the cross. Okay. Here's a little one in Proverbs. It says, it is not for kings, Lemuel. By the way, anyone know Lemuel? Who is Lemuel? Solomon. Okay. It's his name is Shlomo. Solomon is Shlomo in Hebrew. And imagine this is the name his mother would call him. Hey, little Shlomo of God, Shlomo El. Shlomo El, that's God, right? And then he just leaves off the and just gets Lemuel. So it was a name that a mother would call Solomon, okay? It is not for kings, Lemuel. It is not for kings to drink wine or for rulers to desire intoxicating drink. Otherwise, they would drink and forget what is decreed and pervert the rights of all the needy. Give intoxicating drink to one who is perishing and wine to one whose life is bitter. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his trouble no more. We'll move everything to the left. And you can see here in A, he's talking about drinking wine. In A1, he talks about wine. In B, it's intoxicating drink. B1, intoxicating drink. And it all hinges on C, which is the X. So it's in an example in Solomon's day. And you can have a lot of fun with chiasms, right? I'd rather have a bottle in front of me than a frontal lobotomy. The New Testament has chiasmi, I don't know. And he said to them, the Sabbath was made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. Right? You see it? A, B, B1, A1. The Old Testament ends in a chiasm. The last two verses, behold, I will send Elijah the prophet before the great and terrible day, awesome day of the Lord. He will turn the hearts of the fathers to their children and the hearts of the children to their fathers. Otherwise, I will come and strike the land with a curse.
Oh, no.
Oh, we're back.
Oh, okay.
Are we good? Okay. So, hearts of fathers to children, hearts of children to fathers. It's a small chiasm, but it's there. And like I say, they're everywhere. So the Old Testament ends with a chiasm. Now I'm going to give you a big chiasm. Okay? This is in Genesis 17. This is the whole covenant of circumcision. Okay? So this is going to take 15, it'll probably take a half hour to do this one. This is big. Okay? It starts out, chapter 17, it says, when Abram was 99 years old, okay? And by the way, when he was 99 years old, this is chapter 17 beginning. Look how chapter 16 ends. It says, and Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram gave the name Ishmael to the son he had born. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to him. And then we don't hear anything else, because you turn the page, it's chapter 17, right? There's a 13-year gap. We don't know what happened, okay? But we know that Ishmael was 13 whenever Isaac was born. And Ishmael, what does Ishmael mean? Anyone? Anyone? Bueller? You know El on the end, God, and Shema. Shema Israel. Yahweh Eloheinu, Yahweh Echad. It comes from that Shema. And it's God hears me. Okay. Ishma. Okay. Or he is heard by God. All right. We're not talking about Ishmael today, but it's there. I thought I'd just throw it in. I won't charge you for that one. Okay, so there's 13 years between those. And it says, the Lord appeared to him, Abram we're talking about, and said, I am God Almighty, walk before me and be blameless. Just for a little interesting note, there it is in the Hebrew. And this name here, Shaddai, this is the word for Almighty. You've heard of El Shaddai, right? God Almighty. This is the first mention of Shaddai in the Bible, for anyone keeping score. Okay, now part C. It says, I will establish my covenant between me and you, and I will multiply you exceedingly. So he's promising to establish a covenant. And then D, then Abram fell face down, and God said to him, and God is about to make his first big speech. Okay? So if this story begins A, B, C, D, then it must going to be ending D, C, B, A. Okay? And it's going to be half an hour till we get there. But you will see it's going to end in that order. Deb, have you seen this video? Good. This is the one night that I'm doing a talk where I've actually filmed it and posted it on YouTube. So I'm upset you're not watching my YouTube videos, but I'm glad you didn't watch this one. How's that? And this woman, she's watched this one probably 3 times, but she doesn't remember anything, so it's... Okay, we'll continue here. D, well, now we're doing E. As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. No longer shall your name be called Abram, but your name will be Abraham, for I have made you the father of many nations. So we have his name change here. Continuing on verse 6, I will make you exceedingly fruitful. I will make nations of you, and kings will descend from you. I will establish my covenant as an everlasting covenant between me and you and your descendants after you, to be your God and the God of your descendants after you. Okay. So there's a couple things happening in this first speech. We have the father of many nations. Nations is mentioned a couple times. He has a name change from Abram to Abraham. And he talks about kings will descend from you. So in this first speech of God's, in part E, this is God's second speech. The first one was, I will establish my covenant. And here he's actually saying what he's going to do in there. But it talks about a name, nations, kings, and there's a blessing on Abraham. We'll call that part E. As for me, this is my covenant with you. You will be the father of many nations. I just wanted to point out that word covenant. The word covenant in Hebrew is brit. Okay? You've heard of the New Testament is called the Brit Hadashah, the new covenant. Okay? When Abraham, remember he cut the animals in half and God walked between them as a flaming torch, flaming oven. That was a Brit. Okay? And by the way, there are a group of Jews, lots of them, who, because if you study this on your own and you're watching some video and you get confused, like, what are they talking about? There's a group of Jews who, if the last letter of a word in Hebrew ends in tav, the T sound, they will change it to an S sound. Which, if you don't know that, and you're trying to watch a video and they're giving out words, and you're going, I don't know what they're talking about, you know? And an example would be Shabbat. You'll hear Jews say, good Shabbos. Shabbos is Shabbat. They put the T, made an S. Okay? I don't know if it's a Samic or a Shin, but you'll hear that with the word Brit. Sometimes you're watching a TV show and I can remember a Seinfeld episode where they were going to go to a bris. What's a bris? It's a Brit, okay? But Jews call it a bris. That's where you do the circumcision, okay? So I just want you to be aware of that if you're watching some other rabbi or something and it's a topic you know, but then you don't understand any of the words he's saying. It's because he might be putting an S on the end for the T. And heaps and heaps of Jews do that, okay? Probably just to confuse us. Here's another word that's in that second speech of God is... what did it say? Maybe lost it here. Nope. Here. The word Shem. Remember, he's going to change his name, right? Your name will no longer be Abram. Here, your name, Abram, but now it's going to be Abraham. Okay? This word Shem, Shin Mem. That means name. That's what Noah had 3 sons. The first one was Shem. Well, what do you want to name him? I don't know. What name do you want to give him? Let's pick a name. How about we call him Name? Right? Because that's really what's happened here. And in Hebrew, if you want to do possessive, last night we talked about his name. How do you make something possessive masculine? Anybody remember? Vav at the end, right? Shemu would be his name. Shem, and the Vav makes the U sound, Shemu, okay? That's his name. If you want to do my name, you put a yod. Remember, the letter yod represents a hand, okay? And a closed hand, my, Shemi, my name. Remember, Jesus is on the cross, and what does he yell? Eli, Eli, El, God, and he puts a yud at the end. Eli, my God, my God. You understand how that works? Okay. I'm not trying to teach you Hebrew. I'm trying to teach you Bible. But there's some little bits of Hebrew that ooze into it. Well, here it has a cough on the end. Now, Yod's picture was a closed hand. My name. Cough, this is the letter cough. Look. Does this look like this? It's an open palm. It's an open hand, not the me, not Yod, my, your. So you put a cough on the end of a Hebrew noun, and it makes it your name. So this is now Shem, and this is the letter Kaf, so it's Shemekah. That's how they pronounce with a cough on the end, Shemekah. Your name. Shemi, Shemekah. Isn't that Laverne and Shirley? Something like that. But they were Jewish, I'm sure. Right? Okay, another word that I wanted to point out is the word goyim. And notice it ends in yud mem. If it ends in yud mem, that means masculine, plural. Okay? And it means the nations, plural. Okay? 2000 BC, goyim meant the nations. Today, the Jews kind of refer to the non-Jews as the goyim, which would be the nations also, right? That's the nations. Usually in the Bible, when it talks about the land is Israel. When it talks about the seas, those are the nations. Okay? So something bad is going to happen to the seas, or something bad will happen to the land. You can register, land, he's talking about Israel. Seas, he's talking about nations. Okay? And another one that's mentioned here, I will make nations of you, and kings will descend from you. This word king shows up a lot in the Bible. I'm going down rabbit trails here, just pointing out different words to y'all. It's nothing to do with the chiastic structure. I just want you to know certain words and get used to them. And this is one that does come up a lot. It's melakim. And it's im, that's plural, masculine, right? I am. And the word melech, M, that's a mem, that's a lamed, that's a kaf. And you know how you can remember this word is king? Because it's mem. What letter is mem in English? M, lamed. L, kaf. K, M-L-K. Thank you. It means king. Okay? It's easy to remember. Melech is M-L-K, mem, lamed, kaf. All right? And you put a yud mem on the end, and I'm driving through Houston. We have an MLK Boulevard. Who doesn't? Right? But it says MLK, and I just look up and I see the Hebrew, and I see the English, but I'm reading it as Melech, King, MLK. All right. Okay, so we got God's second speech. Name change. You're going to be ruler over nations, and kings will bow down to you. Okay. F. God also said to Abraham, you must keep my covenant, you and your descendants and the generations after you. This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, which you are to keep. Every male among you must be circumcised. You are to circumcise the flesh of your foreskin, and this will be a sign of the covenant between me and you. Okay, so here he's announcing what the covenant's going to be. And there's lots of covenants in the Bible. And what's the word for covenant? Brit. Okay, and then you tell what kind of covenant. This is a Brit Milah. Brit Milah is the circumcision covenant. Okay, there's lots of covenants in the Bible. And I told you sometimes you'll hear bris instead of Brit. And this one is this one is a conditional covenant. A conditional covenant is, if you do this, then I will do that. It's conditional on you doing something for me to do back. There are also unconditional covenants in the Bible where God just says, hey, Abraham, I'm going to put you to sleep, and then I promise you're going to have more descendants than the stars. You understand? So you've got, that's unconditional. Abraham was asleep. He had no say in this, okay? We're going to see that in a minute. Ah, well, there it is. Less than a minute. Genesis 15, okay? It was dark. There appeared a smoking oven, passed between the pieces. Same day, God made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to your descendants, I give this land from Egypt to the river in Euphrates. Okay. By the way, from the river in Egypt, that's the Nile, to the Euphrates, that's the promised land. The Jews right now have this, and the world's going ballistic crazy over, they're supposed to have this. This is unconditional. Abraham's asleep. He has no say in what God just says. This is what I'm going to give you. Okay? Okay, why is that word here? Bereshit. That's the first word of the Bible. Oh, I think I was just going to show you. I just wanted to show you that Abrahamic covenant where God puts Abraham to sleep and he walks between the cut animals, right, as a fire. Look at this word Bereshit. The first word of the Bible, in beginning, Bereshit. Right in the center of Bereshit is an aleph and a shin. Aleph shin spells, in Hebrew, Aish. Aish. And remember, every Hebrew letter has a picture. Aleph is strength. Shin is destruction. What destroys everything? Fire. So you have the word Aish in the middle of the word Bereshit. And what letters are surrounding Aish? Well, it's a Bet, Resh, Yod, Tav. Brit. So God has hidden the Abrahamic covenant, not the Abrahamic covenant, but the one that he made in Genesis 15. It's hidden in the first word. You have this fire walking between a Brit. Very clever, okay? It goes on to say in F, we're still in F, right? He's telling what the covenant's going to be. Were you paying attention back there? Okay. Good. I don't have to start over, do I? No. Okay. But
now repeat all that so they'll know.
yeah, if you have a question, she didn't have a question though. She was, yeah. If she has a question, we'll repeat it. Remind me, if you ask a question, we got to repeat it here because the people at home can't hear. Okay, so we're continuing on with F and explaining the rules of this covenant he's going to give. It says, generation after generation, every male must be circumcised when he is 8 days old, including those born in your household, those purchased from a foreigner, even those who are not your offspring. Whether they are born in your household or purchased, they must be circumcised. This is the important part. My covenant in your flesh will be an everlasting covenant, but if any male is not circumcised, he will be cut off from his people. He has broken my covenant. Them some harsh words there, okay? And I've got a million things to say about these couple verses here. Let's start here. 8 days old. 8 is new beginnings. Every number in the Bible has a meaning. 8 is new beginnings. And I guess this circumcision, it signifies a new beginning, okay? And all through the Bible, 8 is the 8th day of the week is a new week, right? There were 8 people on Noah's Ark. That's a new beginning, right? And, I looked up scientifically, and she's a nurse. She can verify this. There are 2 things in your body that help blood clotting, okay? I forget what one of them is, and the other one I don't remember. Vitamin K, and okay. Well, the other one is called probothin. Prothrombin. Okay. Yes. Yes. So these two. Which day? Well, it starts producing it around day 5, day 6 is what I've read. The other one, the prothrombin, it starts producing it at the beginning, and it produces more. On day 8, you have 115% that you're going to ever have. On day 9, it drops back down to 100%, which then you keep the rest of your life. So if you want to do a circumcision, if you do it on day 4, the baby could bleed to death because it's too soon. The clotting mechanism isn't there yet. The optimum day is day 8 because you have extra clotting material. And it was interesting, I lived most of the year in Kyrgyzstan, and my editor was pregnant, and she just had a baby on August 31st. So everybody's oohing and eyeing, and they're from a Kyrgyzstan atheist Muslim country. They're Christians now, but they still have lots of traditions, and when they're doing stuff that I don't always understand. And I don't know if it's Kyrgyz tradition or Muslim tradition. Well, I don't know if they're already atheist traditions. I don't know. But once they had the baby, I said, okay, it was a little boy. I said, now we got to talk about circumcision, which they're going to do. And I said, the optimum day is day 8. God says, do it on day 8. What do y'all think? And I can't push it down their throat. This is what it says. And if they say no, well, they went to the doctor and asked the doctor, and the Russian Kyrgyz doctor said, no, we should wait a year. So it'd still be okay, but, huh? Yeah. I'm going to try to mention it again to, because who wants to have it done when you're 1 year old? And I think the couple that I'm staying with, he didn't have his until he was 17 or something. Yeah, I mean, what a memory you wouldn't want to have. Okay. Anyway, we digress again. But circumcision is an 8th day activity. And they said in a Jewish family, they don't name the baby till day 8. I have a camera I'm looking at? Oh, how you doing? Okay. That's what she said, that they name the babies on day 8. The 8th millennium begins eternity, right? We've had 4,000 years from Adam to Jesus. 2,000 years from Jesus to today, that's 6. When Jesus comes back, he's 1,000-year reign of Christ. There's 7,000 years, and then at 8,000 years begins eternity. So 8, new beginning, eternity. And this circumcision covenant, it says every male must be circumcised, including those born in your household, family, those purchased from a foreigner, slave, and those who are not your offspring, the goyim, the nations. So it applies to everybody. And not only is the instruction apply, but the covenant blessings are for all. Not just Jews, but slaves and foreigners. Everybody gets the covenant blessings. Is that if any male is not circumcised, he will be cut off. He has broken my covenant. It's nice here that the group is not held responsible for the actions of one. Okay? If any male, he will be cut off from his people. So it's not the whole tribe is going to get slammed for one person not, which is good, right? That's okay. So here now we have the chiastic beginning. All right. We already showed you that and that. Yeah, this is the conditional, right? Unconditional, right? There's no, okay. Brit. This is nice, just so you understand the letters of the word Brit, covenant. It's a Bet, Resh, Yod, Tav. Bet is a house. Resh, well, these two here, the first two, Bet, Resh. That spells bar. What does bar mean? Son. The next is Yod. Yod is a hand. And then Tav is two cross lines. It's a cross. So the word Brit is son with hand on cross, which is the ultimate covenant, right? Huh. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it. Yeah. So this, there are two things that apply with this covenant thing. One, God did this to set apart a people, right? And there's a downside, because if you accept this covenant, then if you agree to this God of Israel and you've got to follow all his rules, or you will be cut off. You know, thank you for choosing us, but now I got to, you know. Who was it Fiddler on the Roof? Why couldn't he choose somebody else? You know, was it from that movie? I don't remember, but there was some movie where, yeah, he chose us, but, okay. He broken my covenant. And these are just some notes of mine. This is not really, don't send this slide out. Oh, okay, good. We'll let the people here read it. God's covenant. There are consequences, blessings, and curses. Some of the blessings, you could have a fruitful womb, lots of produce from your gardens, and maybe God's just protection, your enemies, keep them away from you. There's all kind of blessings if you keep in covenant, okay? And here you can, now, Leviticus 26 lists a whole bunch of blessings for keeping covenant, okay? And, yeah, I like these here. 5 of you will pursue 100, 100 will pursue 10,000. That's nice, okay? And and this, by the way, if you read a lot of those things, it kind of describes the new heaven and the new earth, right? All the covenant blessings you're going to get is a pre-taste of what's really coming in the millennium, okay? And there's also consequences for breaking covenant. There seems to be a lot more of those. Some are pretty disgusting here. You will eat flesh of your children. Plagues. I will walk in fury against you. I will punish you 7-fold for your sins. Sow seed in vain. And if this is not enough, here's even more. Okay, you got a bunch. Cities laid to waste. Sounds like America. Perish among the nations. Enemies consume you. Okay. Which bottom line is you will be cut off. Okay. Okay, and God must punish. Okay. He has two things here. His holiness, okay, demands that he punishes. Okay. Holiness, by the way, refers to God's nature. And the other thing we have is his righteousness. God's righteousness refers to God's acts. And remember, he is a perfect judge, right? And he has to judge. If I go out tonight and I take a knife and I'm walking down the street and I stab somebody in the gut, and they take me to the judge, and the judge says, "You stabbed somebody in the gut?" I said, "Yeah, I did, and I'm really sorry." And the judge says, "Oh, you're sorry? You may go free." That's a bad judge. The judge must punish. Okay? So God's holiness and his righteousness demands that he punish. Okay? Now, he must punish sin. But it doesn't mean he has to punish you. He just has to punish. How did that come up? Well, this is supposed to be in the talk, but I don't remember why it connects right here. Oh, because I know why. There's a long talk between that slide and the next one, and I just remember what that talk is. Huh? No, I am going to give it, but I'm kind of forgetting it right now, so I got to hurry up and just keep talking until it comes back in my brain. Okay, I remember. Hurry up, let's do it now, but I remember. Oh, God must punish. And what is the punishment for disobeying God? Death. Okay? And death is separation from God. Okay? And I guess the tie-in was going to be, there's some people who are like, I'm not worried about that. I go to hell. I got all my buddies down there. We're going to have a good old time, party central. Okay? And then that's where this ties in. These people who think they're going to go to hell and see all their buddies and have a good old time, hell is not Satan's man cave. Yeah. In fact, the worst part about hell, you always think hell, fire, brimstone, heat, and I don't know, maybe getting whipped. I don't remember getting whipped, but I wasn't there. But I think the worst part about hell will be being alone. Because there's just such a despair that this is not going to end. It's hot. Yes, it's hot. Ow, hot. But the loneliness and the despair, your buddies aren't going to be there. They'll probably be there, but you're not going to see them or not even know that they're there. Yeah. It's going to be dark, black, hot, and alone forever. So we have Jesus on the cross, okay, and remember when Jesus came, he's going to be our sacrifice. He's going to take all of our sins, okay? And this is all the sins of all mankind of all time. And one of those sins will be, there'll be somebody who should have been circumcised but didn't. And what does he say? That's a sin, right? If he says, be circumcised. And if you don't be circumcised, you're going to be cut off. So that person who didn't get circumcised but still believed in Yeshua before he died but didn't get circumcised, that sin goes to Jesus. So does every sin. Every murder, every lie, every stealing, every coveting, everything, blasphemy, all those sins go there. But one in particular that will go there is people who didn't get circumcised. And they are going to be cut off. So Jesus has to be cut off here. Because, not just because of the circumcision sin he's taking on of other people, but of all sins. But that's one of them. Okay? And this, again, don't put this one up. The cross is the supreme circumcision. It's God is circumcising his son. There's a cutting, there's blood, there's the whole thing, okay? He's being cut off. And God cut him off. Okay, let's see here. The moment Christ took on himself the sin of the world, his figure on the cross was most grotesque. It's the most obscene mass of concentrated sin in the history of the world. God is too holy to look on sin, so when Christ hung on the cross, the Father, as it were, turned his back. He averted his face and cut off his son. Right? He promised in the covenant, if you don't do it, you're going to be cut off. So Jesus has to be cut off. Right? So God turns his back on Yeshua. Right? Please. So the cross represents the ultimate God's supreme circumcision. Then, if the lights go out, right? He's hanging on the cross. I'm sure Jesus is, he's got all the sin. Imagine the sin of all eternity, everybody. That's heavy, right? And you know you're innocent. And then your Father, who you have been like this forever. You have never, they're like the fish in the TV documentaries. When one turns, they all turn. That's how Jesus and God and the Spirit are. They're one. And Jesus never knew what it was to be without his Father being there. And all of a sudden, his Father turns his back on him and the lights go out. The despair has got to be heavy. And the darkness, this is what I just got done saying here. The other thing is, he's got nails through his hands, side pierced, crown of thorns, back whipped, feet nailed. All of those are painful. But I'll bet they didn't register much on Jesus, because I think the pain of his Father turning away from him and the sin of everybody, that had to be heavier. That this is like a mosquito bite. It hurt, but it wasn't the number one issue, I think, in my opinion. What do I know? Okay, and we talked about alone. That's bad. But then Jesus is hanging on the cross, and there's blood everywhere, right? Head, side, arms, legs, everywhere. And God has a verse that says, when I see the blood, I will forgive the sin, right? And I don't know whether he's got his back to him, or he like, oh, blood. Did he peek? How did he know that the blood was there? I mean, he knows he's God. He knows everything. But when he sees the blood, he's going to forgive. By the way, this is why remember Joseph's brothers, they throw him in the pit, they take his coat, and they kill an animal and dip the coat in it. I always wondered, they betrayed his brother and threw him in a pit and had him sold to Egypt. And why didn't God just take a lightning bolt and destroy all 10 of them for doing this, And he probably was sharpening up his lightning bolt, and all of a sudden he realized they killed an animal and they dipped his coat in that blood. And God looked down and he sees the blood, so he didn't punish the 10 brothers, you understand? So it's consistent through the Bible. When he sees the blood, he forgives the sin, okay? Or covers the sin. I don't know if he forgives it. May have to ask for the forgiveness. All right, so he sees this, and And then you have just Jesus, his righteousness just shines, right? And I'm not sure if it's God's righteousness that shines down on Jesus and he reflects it, or is it Jesus' righteousness that shines out? It's up for debate. You can decide here. But his righteousness then illuminates us. So God gets a... Could be. Okay. If Jesus had not been on the cross, we would still be in our sins. No redemption, no salvation. The whole point of the cross was for Jesus to bear our sins and bear the sanctions of the covenant. The covenant said you will be cut off. Jesus got cut off. So we didn't have to. He had to be forsaken. Jesus submitted himself to the Father's will and endured the curse so that we, his people, might experience the ultimate blessedness. Okay. So this is what we said before. You'll be cut off. Oh, and by the way, Isaiah 53 talks about it pleased Yahweh to bruise him. He has put him to grief. When you make his soul an offering for sin, he shall see his seed, and he shall prolong his days, and the pleasure of the Lord shall prosper in his hand. So God was happy to do this to his son. It pleased him. Which, Jesus could have said, listen, Dad, I don't really want to do this, and why don't you just send them all to hell? And you and the Spirit and I, let's just go on a picnic and we'll just spend eternity together, the three of us. That's the alternative, right? He chose so we don't have to go to hell. And that would actually, God doesn't make mistakes. But if Jesus would have said, I'm not going to die for them, send them all to hell, that would have been a mistake. God made us and ended up having to send us all to hell. Is that a mistake? His plan was to make us so we would worship him. He would have a family. We're part of his family. And if the whole thing happened that we all just get sent off to hell because Jesus didn't want to take the punishment for us, then God's plan didn't really work. But it had to work. So Jesus had to die for us. That's our way out. It's very beautiful how it all kind of fits together. Okay. Now we're on little e. We're on our way back down. Okay, because we've been building up to the covenant, right? And look what it says. Then God said to Abraham, as for Sarai, your wife, do not call her Sarai. Her name is to be Sarah. I will bless her and will surely give you a son by her. I will bless her and she will be the mother of nations. Kings of people will descend from her. Anything ring a bell there? By the way, this name change, Yahweh's name is Yud, He, Vav, He. Yud is hand. He is like a blessing. He is grace, okay? And Vav is a nail. And then you have another hay. God is full of grace, right? He got two of them, two hays in his name. And he took one of them and he had Abram, and he put one of the hays, and Abram's name became Abraham. Got it? Which means the father of many. And the other hay went to Sarai, and she became Sarah. So here, God said, we just read this verse, and look at the letter, look at the things that lined up in here. There's a name change. She will be the mother of nations, and kings will descend from her. Does that ring a bell? Yes. Look what God's second speech was a name change, nations and kings, blessing Abraham. God's fourth speech, the third speech was the covenant. The fourth speech is the name, the nations, the kings, and blessing. You see it happening? Okay, let's continue. D, and then Abraham fell face down. Then he laughed and said to himself, can a child be born to a man who is 100 years old? Can Sarah give birth at age 90? And Abraham said to God, oh, that Ishmael might live under your blessing. Okay, so it says Abraham fell face down. I hit the wrong button again. There it is. Okay, look at D, little d. Here, Abraham falls on his face. Here, Abraham falls on his face. And he said, oh, that Ishmael might live under your blessing. So Abraham is trying to lift up his firstborn. He would like his firstborn. But God doesn't want the firstborn. So he wants the one that was conceived in covenant marriage. Husband-wife, not husband-maid of wife. And God replies, this is in C now, your wife Sarah will indeed bear you a son, and you are to name him Yitzhak. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for descendants after him. As for Ishmael, I have heard you, and I will surely bless him. I will make him fruitful and multiply. He will become the father of 12 rulers. Okay. 21, but I will establish my covenant with Yitzhak, whom Sarah will bear to you at this time next year. Okay. By the way, this name Yitzhak, it comes from the word tzahak. It's a tzadi, a chet. That's not a hey, that's a chet. It's the het. And then a kuf. And that word tzahak means laughter. Okay? And we have a rule in Hebrew that if you put a yod in front of a verb, it makes it third person future tense. Masculine, I think, also. So, Yitzhak, he, that's third person, right? I, you, he. Future, he will laugh. Got it? So that's interesting. God's going to name him Yitzhak. He will laugh. So now every time Abraham thinks about this boy or calls this boy or sees this boy, he's going to remember he laughed at God's promised son. Right? What a funny God we have, you know. I give you on the you want to laugh at me? All right, take that. So it is he will laugh. And we said here that Abraham laughed at his promised son, right? And because it's future, he will laugh, there's a prophetic picture to this also, because on a prophetic level, Jews today laugh at God's promised Messiah, his promised son. Jews, you know, they don't believe, they'll tell you this, we don't know anything for sure except Jesus is not our Messiah. That's the only thing we know for sure. Well, that's the only thing that is for sure, right? Everything else, they got backwards. So because they believe that that's the only thing they know for sure, that Jesus is not their Messiah, they use Jesus as a curse word. If they hit their thumb, Jesus. Okay, or if they're telling a really nasty joke and they need a punchline, Jesus is the good punchline. In fact, a lot of Jews, if you ask about Jesus, they'll even make light and say, oh, yeah, he was one of ours who made it big. You know, they make light of him, but he's not their Messiah, and they don't. But it was all prophesied that he will laugh. They will laugh at the promised son. Abraham did it, and the Jews did it. Okay? Oh, and by the way, remember the little gematria? We didn't talk much gematria. We will later in the week. But the gematria values of Yitzhak's name here, this is 90 is at Tzadi. Chet is 8. And Kuf is 100. Okay? Watch this. This is very cool. What do we know here? Abraham was 100 years old. Sarah was 90 years old when they brought forth new beginning. So God hid the ages of the two parents in Isaac's name. Okay? So help me, I'm going to smack you all. Because I tell you this every stinking year, and you sit here and wow like it's the first time you heard it. Give me strength. All right. Next. Okay. So C is, look what C says. Your wife will indeed bear your son. You are to name him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him. And in 21, he says it again, but I will establish my covenant with Isaac. So in God's fifth speech, which is little c, I will establish my covenant. Look up at big C, God's first speech. He says, I will establish my covenant. So he's repeating it exactly. Okay? Next. When he had finished speaking with Abraham, God went up from him. Okay, on that very day, Abraham took his son Ishmael and all those born in the household or purchased with money, every male among the members of Abraham's household, and he circumcised them just as God told him. Okay, so we have God going up from him. That's going to be little b. Look at big B. The Lord appears to Abram. And look at little b. The Lord departs from Abraham. He's Abraham now. And now we got a big finish, which is not the big finish of the night's talk. It's just this one chiasm. Okay, A. So Abraham was 99 years old when he was circumcised, and his son Ishmael was 13. That's how the story ends. Abraham is 99 years old. Abraham is 99 years old. How did it begin? Abraham is 99 years. You see the chiasmic structure in the story. Everything that happened coming down happens backwards going back. Okay, so we saw an example in the Noah story. We saw examples at the end of the Old Testament. We saw example with Solomon. We saw examples just all throughout, right, of this kind of structure. What's next? Let's look at, we're going to do this quick here, but Micah 5:2 talks about you, Bethlehem Ephratah, little among the tribes of Judah. Out of you will come forth a ruler in Israel who's going forth from old, from everlasting. So the Messiah is coming from everlasting. That's eternity past. In Revelation, it talks about there'll be no light needed, no night. There'll be no light from the sun. The Lord gives them light, and they will reign forever and ever. That's eternity future. So we have eternity past, eternity future. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. In Revelation, we have a new heaven and a new earth. Okay? In the beginning, there was a tree of life in the garden. In the New Jerusalem, on either side of the river was the tree of life bearing all these fruits. So we have tree of life, tree of life. You see a chiastic structure just in the whole plan of God. This is the account of Noah. He was a righteous man. Over here in the New Testament, it says, as in the days of Noah, so it will be in the days of the Son of Man. So we have what it was like in Noah, where he destroyed the earth with water. And now we have, like in the days of Noah, where he's going to destroy the earth with fire. But days of Noah on both. Back here, there were 12 stones, one for each name and the sons of Israel. So he had 12 chosen sons, okay? In the New Testament, we had 12 apostles. Here, Ephraim and Manasseh are mine, just as Reuben and Simeon are mine. He had 12 sons. They take Levi out because he's going to do priestly stuff, and they bring Joseph's 2 boys in, so you have 11 plus 2, which gives you 13. And in here you have 12 plus 1. You had 12 apostles. Judas is out. They get a replacement, 12 plus 1, so you still have 13. But it's chiastic on both sides, okay? Anyway, I thought we had a slide here that maybe it's coming up. Here, behold, the virgin will conceive and give birth to a son. It's prophesied that that's going to happen. And then here, to a virgin, to a woman in Nazareth. Okay? So you got virgin happening both. Was there another slide here that... I had a slide right about... Where'd it go? Huh. I don't know. I just looked at it today when I... Oh, well. Okay, another one, Zechariah 9:9 prophesies that the Messiah is going to enter on a donkey. Okay? And in Matthew 21:7, Jesus arrives on a donkey. And you know, I just picked out a handful of instances that I could find in the Old Testament and in a matching New Testament. If you could find thousands of them, and you line them up, and it all comes together to the cross, right? That's where the whole chiasmic thing crosses. Okay. Now, the New Testament begins with a chiasm. We showed you that the Old Testament ended with one. Here's the record of genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, son of David, son of Abraham. In verses 2 through 16, it actually gives the begats. And then down here, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14, David to Babylon 14, Babylon to Messiah 14. You can move everything over here, and you can see that there's a chiasmic structure. Here's the record of genealogy of Jesus the Messiah, down here in A1, deportation to the Messiah. Son of David, from David. Son of Abraham, so all the generations from Abraham. And then the genealogies in the middle. So even the New Testament begins chiastically. Here's another from the New Testament. How will you say to your brother, let me pull the speck out of your eye, and behold, a beam is in your own eye, you hypocrite? First cast the beam out of your own eye, then you will see clearly to cast out the speck out of your brother's eye. Move everything to the left. Look, here we have, say to your brother, let me pull the speck out of your eye. Behold, there's a beam in your eye, you hypocrite, is D. Cast out the beam, then you will see the speck in the brother's eye. They're everywhere. They're everywhere. Yes, a question. Yes. Yeah, I'm going to. Yeah, for those at home, what she's saying is when God says something, it is established. And here he's saying it twice. He's saying it on the way in and on the way out. So it is doubly established. Okay, what else we got? Chiastic, gastro, and yes, this is a nursing field. This is about food. I got them right here. I didn't bring them because I knew you were cooking. And I probably will later. Yeah, my Tums. In the book of Esther, there is a chiastic structure to the banquets that they have. Here, it starts out, Xerxes has a 180-day feast, okay, throughout the empire. And then when the 180-day feast is over, he has a 7-day feast. The 180 wasn't enough. You got to have 7 more days. Why not? Okay. Then his wife, he gets rid of her for a bit, and Esther becomes the new queen, they have a banquet to welcome Esther's ascension. Then, remember, Esther finds out about the plot, and so she wants to present it to the king, and so she invites the king and Haman to a banquet tomorrow. And when they come to the banquet, what does she do? She invites them to another banquet. So we have C and C1. That's the only reason I could figure he invited her to another banquet is to make a chiastic structure better. Because it makes no sense to invite them to a banquet when they come, say, thanks for coming. I wanted you here so I could invite you to a banquet tomorrow. It didn't make sense, but it does if you're forming a chiasm. Then they have a feast whenever the king reverses the edict. Wrong button again. There you go. Then, whenever they get to fight back and they establish the Feast of Purim, they have a feast throughout the entire empire, but the empire is so big that they're afraid that some people way out in the boondocks didn't hear about the day of the feast, so they gave them another day to feast, a little minor feast for the next time. So you have that structure just in the meals hidden in the book of Esther. Okay? Are you seeing enough examples to realize this really is everywhere? Okay? So you're kind of learning what a chiasmus is. Here's another fun one. Champagne for my real friends and real pain for my sham friends. Just to keep it light. This is not biblical. Okay. But you see the structure. We showed you one in Noah, right? The whole Noah story was chiastic. Okay. Well, look at this. Here's another one hidden inside the Noah story. It says, for after 7 more days, I will cause it to rain on the earth. All right. Now, it came about after 7 days. The rain fell on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. And the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days. Then God remembered Noah. There's the X. And watch what happens. And the waters receded continually from the earth. And at the end of 150 days, the waters decreased. And it came to pass, at the end of 40 days, Noah opened a window. And he waited another 7 days. So he waited yet another 7 days and sent out a dove. So if you move everything over to the left, 7, 7, 40, 150, 150, 40, 7, 7. Even the numbers hidden in the Noah story form its own chiasm. Okay? We already told you Jesus was born on the last feast and died on the first feast. Okay? Last shall be first, first shall be last. There it is. Last shall be first, and the first shall be last. Okay? And remember that it all hinges on X, chi, the Greek letter. Socrates said, bad men live that they may eat and drink, whereas good men eat and drink that they may live. I think this is the end. So, something new, you probably never heard of. And Julie, she watched this video, and she said now when she reads a Bible story, she's just automatically looking for chiastic structures. Because they're everywhere. They're not hard to find. Okay? So, all right, well, let's have a little prayer here. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for revealing to us just this tiny little part of your infiniteness. But it is just so cool to see that you have planned every letter, every word, every chiasm. And it just shows your perfect, beautiful order. And we just thank everyone for coming out tonight. And we hope you all come back tomorrow and just bring us back safely, Lord. And we ask this in Yeshua, Jesus' name. May there be peace in Jerusalem. Amen. The bonus, this is, because I film it, I always put a little bonus in. But here I just incorporated the bonus into the talk. I didn't call it a separate thing. All right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Are we celebrating Jesus' birthday? That's what Sukkot is. Yesterday, I believe, was the day he was. And I have a whole video on that. It's called Sukkot. It's like an hour and 45 minutes, but it explains why. You will know for sure he was born Sukkot, not December 25th. And all the clues are in the Bible that tell you. You'll find them in Luke chapter 1. That's the hint. Luke 1 as to when Jesus was born. Question. I accept them. Yes, what did Lucy say? 10s and 20s. That's what she wanted in the Charlie Brown, remember? Yeah. Do we give gifts? I don't know if the Jews give gifts on Sukkot. I don't know. Yeah. I know they build a outdoor shelter. They invite friends over. They eat. They laugh. They sing. They worship. Okay. We finished a little bit early. It was like an hour and 15 minutes tonight. I thought it would take longer. Anything else? Or we have a little bit of time left. Is anybody rushing out for anything? I could tell you a little bit about what our ministry has been happening lately. Okay, maybe. One of the, and I'm going to give you this website. It's called DutchUncleJohn.org. We haven't officially announced it yet. I do, if I'm speaking to a group, I'll give it to you. And on that DutchUncleJohn, all one word, .org, there's a website there that's got all these slides that you see in my talks. They are there. So you don't have to sit and copy like you've been doing for the last 8 years. I'm happy to announce it. Yeah. Yeah, but only 5 people are watching. One of them is my mom. Yeah. DutchUncleJohn.org. So you'll see photos of many of our excursions. We can't announce a lot of stuff. You know, there's some countries that I'm not allowed to go and teach. So you're not going to see pictures of me speaking in X, Y, and Z because I'm not allowed to speak in X, Y, and Z. But I'm invited to come as a tourist, and I go as a tourist, and then the preacher picks me up, and he fills the room, and I teach them. So we don't give all the places because we go to a lot of Muslim countries and third world. But that's one aspect of our talk. Is this real bread or is this plastic? Oh, okay. I don't want any bread. No, thank you. Years ago, I've been doing this, going different places, and I go weird places. Jakarta, Indonesia, very Muslim country. I think it's the most populated Muslim country in the world. But they have Christian pockets, and those Christian pockets are not being persecuted yet. So I've been invited there. I spoke, And one of the times there was a fella sitting in the front row, and man, he was just gung-ho, taking notes, and so I exchanged emails with him. He's married, he's a youth pastor, and so the website I just gave you is being run by a guy I met in Bangladesh, and so he gets paid to keep this website up and running and stuff. Not every talk that I've done is on the website, but many of them are, and we add them whenever I have nothing to do, and I'll send him another one to post on there. But you'll get a lot of these slides. If the talk is there, all the slides in the talk are there. Okay? And I have a series on the alphabet. If you want to learn the Hebrew alphabet, there's 22 letters. I have 22 one-hour videos. Some are a little bit longer, but about an hour each. And you watch the Aleph video, you will learn everything you need to know about Aleph. And then we have a Bet video and a Gimel video, and just all 22 of them. And that's a real nice help if you want to learn Hebrew, because you'll really get an understanding of the letters. Then we have our couple in Kyrgyzstan, Max and Kay. Kay does all the video editing, ex-Muslim. It's funny, all these Muslim countries, they're the ones who are doing all the work on all the videos and everything that we do. Yes. All's well. Yeah. And are we broadcasting now even? Okay. Yeah, we can turn it off because we'll tell some gossip.